Yeah, man. let's kill that bass head. Alright, let's do this.
I'm on the air, we got this pockets flow. It's me and Tony on the mics, we gotta let you know of current events, little gaming, sprinkling some entertainment. We stay humble, but our moms still think we're famous. Turn up the bass and baby, maybe let that magic flow. Our spoken word is all the things you really wanna know. Having a good time on the show, T-Bows and Matty G. Tune in and hit subscribe and join us on the FAP.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Freaking Awesome Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Bowes. Today we are, we have a couple guests coming on today, and we're super excited for it. We have the return of Randy Edelman, of course, musician, producer, composer, and the special guest, of course, today will be the iconic journalist who's well world-renowned for the realms of music, television, and film. A veteran entertainment personality, Eileen Shapiro, will also be joining us today. Now, they did message us, of course, before the show was happening, that they are running a little bit behind and that, they got stuck in a ferry and a cab. And so travel's been interesting for them. They will be running a little bit behind. So I'm going to just kind of jibber jabber, I guess, a little bit until they come. We did push the show out by 30 minutes. And I figured, you know what, this is a great time to have listeners jump in, message, chat with me, and we'll wait for our guests together. In the meantime, I am going to have a wonderful cup of Canadian coffee. We're not sponsored by coffee, let alone Starbucks. I just put my coffee in a Starbucks cup. So when our guests arrive, it'll be a good chance that if you'd like to jump in and give them a message, drop a comment, you're more than welcome. In the meantime, you're more than welcome to drop me a comment. Oh, it looks like we have here's Randy popping on now. So we're going to bear with us, listeners, and we're going to say hi to everybody. So, Randy, how are you doing today? Oh, you're stuck on mute. Let's see if that's a mute on your end. That might be a mute on your end, Randy. I'm not sure if you can hear me right now, but your phone's on mute.
How about now?
There, now we got it.
Okay, hold it. There's people who. Okay, close that door. Okay. I've just been on in a rainstorm on the Hudson. Crazy. Okay, let's do it.
That's quite all right. You know what? Actually, it's been pounding rain down here as well. So you might.
Where are you?
We're in Kingston, Ontario.
Oh, Ontario. Okay, so
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm glad you're able to make it. We did, of course, launch the show a little bit early. We let people know that, of course, that they're welcome to drop in and post the messages if they want. And I'm so glad that you're able to make it. I know Eileen had messaged and said that you guys were running a little bit behind. I guess traffic may have been a bit crazy today.
Yeah, well, no, we were on the ferry. We were on the water, coming from wherever the hell we were doing it. TV show. I mean, I'm only here for a couple of days, because I don't live here. So
no, that's true. In fact, I was happy that you were able to come back on the show, and I wasn't sure after last time if you'd want to come back, but
I don't know. I don't even remember last time. See?
Oh, gee.
So don't worry about it. I know.
No, it's okay.
I've done this show before.
Yeah, last November.
What a little bit. So why? Okay, what do you have to add to it? Better have something new.
Oh, always. Actually, last time we had you on the show, of course, we brought up a lot of the musical soundtracks, and we asked some wildly personal questions, some odd things that you're like, really, these are the questions you want to have. So this time I decided, what we're going to do is we'll ask you some a little bit more on the professional side of questions, I guess, as it's not normally our shtick, but I felt like that's maybe what you were expecting, or a little bit more geared towards.
No, you ask whatever you want. I don't care. I'll answer it.
Was Eileen going to join you as well today, or
no, forget it.
No. Oh, okay. Well, sorry, Eileen, you got to stand out on this one. she was a little elusive in her email. I wasn't 100% sure if she was going to be joining us, so I did put her up there, and hopefully at some point, we're gonna have to get Eileen on as well. So.
She's here, but she ain't coming on this show. That's what I'm serious.
Okay.
I'm in my hotel. I'm in the bedroom. I'm not going out. She's with Jackie in the other room. They haven't seen each other, so.
Oh, okay. Well, they're catching up, so that's
Yeah,
all right.
you could do her on a different time, different day.
Yeah, exactly. This is Brandy's turn, not
That's
Eileen.
it. Yeah.
No, that's quite all right. I'm again, I was glad that you're able to make it, and I guess let's start off. Of course, that you got an upcoming show. Let's begin with that. I believe you've got one coming up on the 9th.
On the 2 days, right? Yes.
2 days. Why don't you tell us about it and how some of our listeners in the I believe you're in the New York area right now, so how they could get over there and get involved.
They have to they call on the phone and show up at the Chelsea stage,
Chelsea?
26th Street, I think it is, but it's not that big a place, and I think they'd have a problem right now.
Oh yeah, already sold out.
Yep.
That's good. That's
and
fantastic.
last night I was at the Big Bash, the big Clive Davis 90th birthday with everybody, and a lot of people who I hadn't seen in a while. I mean, everybody was there. I don't normally go to events like it, but anyway, they're trying to, and so I've been getting calls all day because, like, you call this number, it's not a big place. It's not like, going to a stadium. So anyway, if you want to come down, get your act together.
All right. So you definitely want to call, beg, and plead the
beg, baby,
beg
to see me. But no, my show has evolved because I didn't do this for a long time, and it's evolved to really, it's like when I say it sounds over serious, my life story. It's not, but it is, because I'm doing stuff from when I first started writing songs, and then I go through certain things, and then I get into the film scores, and what it's turned out to be is that's really what it is, which I didn't really mean it to be. So now I've retitled the show Around the World in 80 Minutes, but it's 2 hours long. So, and it's just me and a piano. There's no net, so to speak, to fall into. So
okay, yeah.
But I'm into it now. 4 months from now, I may not be that into it. Right now, I'm interested in doing the other things that I'm doing and scoring films and stuff, and doing this thing. But when you don't perform and you don't do these things, especially that amount of time, you're not comfortable in front of people. So you have to do it. So right now, I'm going to kind of pursue this thing, come back to New York in a couple of weeks, do a little bigger venue. Then I'm going to London to do it. And I'll see how long this interest of mine lasts until I say, you know what? I don't feel like doing this anymore.
And I'm out. Yeah. And as you said about, having that time period in between what you enjoy doing, and then, of course, the musical scores and kind of that solo act. And then, of course, COVID on top of that, you're kind of used to being away from a lot of people and not being surrounded by people. And now you're sitting.
Right. Yeah, but no, that's true. But now, see, it's just that when you don't, especially in the kind of settings that I'm doing, see, I just tell you from experience, when I used to do things and I was in huge stadiums doing opening act stuff for big groups and stuff, that's easy, because you're not associating with anybody. There's 10,000 people there to see somebody else.
That's right.
It sounds like when you're in a little place and boom, you're in front of people, that's when you get nervous.
Very personal.
You may think it's did you just turn your volume down?
I don't think so. No.
Let me see.
How's this? A little better?
Yeah, I think maybe that was my end. Okay. Anyway, so it's just you have to keep doing it. And what my thing is about right now, this is all about my musicianship, my playing. I have to play, seriously, better than anybody else you have ever seen. That's what this is about. Doesn't sound like you're doing songs, you're doing scores. No, this is about my expertise as a pianist. And that's what makes it special, to be honest with you. Obviously, it's the material, the stuff I'm playing that I've written. But with me, that's the thing. I play a certain way, and I don't care who it is. I have to blow everybody away, and fortunately, I do.
Yeah. Well, you've got enough experience behind you,
Well,
right?
no. It's not. It's you got to be. My background is as a concert pianist and stuff like that. So I have to go back to that, and I have to work at this thing that I do, like literally a couple hours a day, just like as if I'm playing a concerto or something like that. And if I don't play, even though you could say, well, people don't really notice that you're singing a song or you're playing something, it's not the same. So it's a certain comfortability that I have with the playing and the way I really just wail, whether I'm playing something soft or whether it's loud and rhythmic. And it's got to be very cleanly played. And that's what it has to be. Or it's just a guy getting up there. I mean, come on, everybody can get up there. People obviously have a lot more hits as far as commercial success than me, but this isn't about that. This is about my playing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's about the material, but it's about the performance of the material, because obviously most of the material, whether it's a film score, it wasn't done for a piano, and if it was a song on an album, I did it with, in conjunction with a rhythm section, or so that's
Right.
that's
Yeah.
what this thing is, or
Yeah.
that's what it's become.
Yeah.
And it may turn out to be something a little different, but it's kind of cool. That's what it's coming around to.
Mhm.
And like I said, it's sort of, the story. It's almost like my life as a musical, because that, fortunately, I've been able to do this for a long time and started when I was very young. It, and what's cool about it is I never had a plan. I was a musician, and so it's kind of, and I can recount certain stories, like everything has a story about it
Yeah.
that I'm doing. And that's become a big part of it. I'm not a comedian. I'm not but that people are really interested and into it. If obviously the story's got to be pretty interesting or pretty humorous,
Yeah.
and hopefully they are,
Yeah. Now, do you have a bit of a speaking position with this? I mean, are you engaging with the audience, like talking between pieces?
Yes, but I'm not really like somebody. There was some kind of review from a couple of weeks ago when I was here, and he said, I shouted out something. It sounded like I'm doing questions and answers. No, nothing like that. As a matter of fact, to be honest with you, I don't have anything to do with the audience. Yes, I'm speaking,
Mhm.
but, and you know what I noticed? Obviously, I don't even like everybody, how it's so easily now to record everything and everybody wants it. I don't want anything recorded or videoed. However,
Mhm.
when I said that last time, it turns out that, unbeknownst to me, of course, everybody's got stuff all set up. I'm not talking about people on phones. I'm talking about they have a really good setup in the place that I was playing,
Yeah.
and they did record it, even though I said don't record this, And so and it was, that was 2 hours. That's a long time. I never meant to do that long,
Mhm.
and so I kind of bit my lip, and a couple of weeks later, I watched it, and there's something to be said. I said to myself, I was going to call the guy and say, "Hey, you know what? Sorry, I was so blunt about that," and they didn't even want me to know that they recorded it, but it turns out they did, and they sent it to me because I didn't remember the order, because I did 2 hours. I mean, I sort of did, but
Yeah.
I actually didn't. And in watching that, I saw, you know what, you're a schmuck. You're not. You have to. You have to turn your body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, you're sitting at the piano, but it was almost like I went too fast between songs because I'm not used to doing it. So I did learn stuff, and I have to, like tomorrow or the next day, I have to engage a little bit more in that. When I tell these stories, it's so easy. I have to kind of talk to them. The thing is, since I'm uncomfortable and haven't done it my whole life, I I'm not comfortable. I'm comfortable sitting at the piano and speaking into a microphone between songs
Yeah.
about whatever it is that I'm going to do. But I don't do a simple thing like, you know what? Turn your head. You know why? Because I don't want to look at the people there. And especially like in a couple of days from now, to be honest with you, I when I do these things, I don't want to know anybody. I don't tell anybody about them. I mean, if there are people that want to come and see me and there's a certain amount of whatever they see, I'm happy to have them. That's the kind of people I want there. As far as friends or people who's not interested in it at all. However, and when they're there, it's bad because I start joking. I start doing things like, oh, I don't want them to think I'm that serious. You know what I mean? It's the wrong stuff. So that's one of the reasons. And on this Saturday, as a result of this thing, not just last night, but it's New York and it's Saturday night. And it's like, I don't want to see those people. And if I go like that and I see them, I'm going to crack up.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's okay. But I don't really, to be honest with you, I don't want to. What I want to do is be very serious about what I'm doing for that 2 hours, like take it seriously, which of course I do, and I prepare for it. But that's what it is. It's not like a joke at all. There are funny things I'm saying all the time.
Yep.
And by the way, I have a new thing that I'm doing. I mean, I'm realizing you're not asking me any questions. I'm telling you this. Here's what I've learned to do, which I shouldn't say, but I will. I like lie. Okay. Now, here's what I do.
Okay.
If I do a song and I say, here's a song I'm doing. Did I write the song? Yes. Do I say, oh, this is a song that Patti LaBelle recorded? Okay. That's enough of the truth. This is a song I wrote that Patti LaBelle recorded. But I may add some nuances. Now, it doesn't sound particularly interesting what I just told you. I may kind of make the story a little bit more different and interesting about how this happened or how this blah, 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 or make up the story about Barry Manilow doing my old song, Weekend in New England. I can really go wild with that. I've gotten 3 different things I'm saying. All are not true at all. But is it true that it's my song? Yes. Is it true that I rewrote it for him? Yes. Is it true he did it? Yes. Is it true? Yes. All those things are true, except what I'm about to say about it, which is a complete lie.
Everything else is just an embellishment along the way.
No. And here's the funny thing on Saturday, and then I will stop talking. On Saturday, the story that I made up about that, the person who's responsible for it is going to be sitting right in front of my face. And I know he's going to be in my face. He's going to be there, but he's not going to be back. He's going to be sitting because he's a guy who I know very well and became a very big film producer after when he was a kid in the record business when this thing happened. But I'm going to tell this story that I've made up that gets a huge, major reaction. But now I have a problem because what I'm going to say, it's not that he's going to be upset. He's going to laugh along with everybody else. Except it's a little different because I embellished the story and I used him because he went to the same high school that I did. It's going to be kind of, and at the last minute, when I'm up there, when I get to that place, I'm going to have to decide, okay, are you going to just do the song and kind of do a intro because start playing the song and the people know what it is, or am I going to do this great fucking story that it's all based on facts. The important things are true, but is this how it happened? No. So, and I've got a bunch of those.
And then I guess the question after was like, will he bring it up? Will it get called out? Or
do you
precursor it saying, and he's also a chronic liar?
No. First of all, he won't care. He will laugh along with everybody else. But I forgot about this particular story that he was coming. And there's one other one I forgot about with this Saturday, and it's easy for me to just make, just not do it that night. Okay, those 2 or 3 places, tell the story. They're all good stories.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, one more, and then I promise I'll stop. For instance, and I did this last time. I opened this show. Now, you're sitting up there with a piano. You don't have a band, blah, 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 blah. You don't have a hit record out, so it's enough that people are showing up and that it's going fantastically. It's sort of uncanny, that this is happening now for me after for 25 years scoring 100 movies that have nothing to do with a lot of other stuff. I do that stuff in the show also. But so I'm trying to figure out, how am I going to start this out? Oh my God, guy comes up with a piano. Like I said, there's a million people who get up there and they can play 12 hit songs. I wrote this, I wrote that, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
So this particular place, and this is going to be the place Saturday night, it's a great venue. You walk in and then you walk down steps to the place. Okay. So I concocted this thing, and so I made up a story, sort of made up, about how, because I'm from New Jersey, right near here, even though I've lived in California for years. And my parents, of course, who had no background in music or it was like completely beyond anything to them that I would actually try to make a living going into music. All they could fathom was, oh my God, he's going to be a music teacher. That was it.
Yep.
That's as far as there's nobody in my family in it. And they were just being typical kind of, like, okay, that's
Realist,
great. That's great. We think you're great, but, it's like, because they just had no association with it. And they knew that it was, you're dealing with, I don't care how good it is, but it's the long shot. There's a lot of very talented people walking around. It's just, anyway. So I took that story and I concocted the following. I can't believe I'm telling you this story because it doesn't sound that funny now. Believe me, it's an animal on the floor.
Yep.
I tell the story. There's this big staircase that goes down to this very beautiful venue. It's a perfect place for me to do what I do. And so I said, my father used to tell me that if I didn't go to medical school or law school or anything and really wanted to pursue this crazy dream of mine that I was going to go into music, whatever it was, I didn't know about songwriting, film scoring, whatever it's going to be, that it's possible that later in life, now it's later in life, I could end up on a Saturday night, I always do only Saturday nights, playing piano in the city in a basement bar. Now, that doesn't sound funny to you now. They're on the floor. Yeah. Oh, so no. Sorry. I messed it up. So I say that, and then they kind of like, okay, I'm going to tell a funny story. And then I say, so welcome to my nightmare. Boom. I'm on my way.
That's right.
Now, that is a made up story, but it's just little things like that. And then making up some of the stuff. I mean, it may sound, this is all very uninspiring to be talking about this because we're not talking about music, and then I'll let you say, but this is the kind of stuff that you got to figure out if you're going to catch their attention for that 90 minutes.
Yes.
It's not just about, so it's a combination of fucking playing like your ass off, performing the songs, blah, 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 talking the stories, and hopefully the emotional highs and lows, and then my movie scoring thing, I had to figure out a way, how am I going to do this? Because I didn't used to do that. And now I have so many scores and well-known things, and they all have seen all these different movies. So then I tell a few stories about each of the little, each of the stories, from Last of the Mohegans to My Cousin Vinny, to completely different genres in scoring that I've done, and about the different people in them and my funny experiences. And that's all. Okay. Now you talk.
I was having an interesting conversation with last week's guest, and we were talking about musical scores and how a lot of the time it's the music that creates that emotion in a lot of movies, right? Like you could be watching a movie and think, okay, that's great, but until the right music comes in, do you actually feel what's happening in the movie, or do you feel sad or happy or everything?
Well, hopefully if a movie is really well done, doesn't matter whether it's a drama or an action or a comedy, the director has done a good enough job and the actors have done a good enough job that you're in it, and that music just puts you over the top.
Yes.
Depending on what the passion and emotion is, and that's what it's supposed to do. And it's also supposed to add to the character and the story and bring you to the next scene, place. That's what the That's what the hope is.
Yeah.
But because of the medium and the collaboration between in features the composer and the director, because that's really the only person. Television is a little different with producers and networks and stuff, but that collaboration is the important thing, and there's a lot of changes that take place and opinions about what it should be, and opinions with me is especially in like, okay, where does this music go, and why is it there? Maybe it doesn't need music, you know what I mean? And this is why comedy, which I was, the comedy king for years in Hollywood, is so hard to do. Dramas, the ones that you hear and you go, oh my God, that music is so beautiful, or this, or that's easy because generally they dictate, maybe not exactly where the music is, but the mood and emotion of a scene is much easier than in comedy, where technically, if the comedy, and it's a real good director and obviously an actor is working, it doesn't need music.
Yes.
So that's in most of my comedies. The funny thing is I could play you 6 scores and you would never hear one funny thing in any of them. It's playing the action, the darkness, where it was the romance, but exactly the comedy. Was I playing Jim Carrey's comedy in The Mask? No, I was playing the darkness surrounding him.
That's right.
All the way. Was I playing in My Cousin Vinny, Joe Pesci? And no, I was playing the wallpaper. I was playing their 2 characters from Brooklyn in a piece that takes place in the South. And you know what I played? The South.
That's right.
Say, boy, that's an odd thing to say for. No, that's what I thought the music could add to this unlikely story about these people who found themselves in this, place and blah, blah, blah. And so that's, that's it's always a thing. And then you have directors who obviously have done their temp score, which is the music they live with and preview with long before a composer comes in and writes the score.
Yes.
So then you fight with them about, oh, the music comes in here. No, in the temp, we bought it in here and we got a 98 at the screening. Well, I love, to be honest with you, Anthony, I like movies that test terribly and that are disasters. You know why?
Why is that?
When I come in, they can't say that. I could say, you know what? I think it's a good idea. And you got a 28 at your fucking screening. So they're not coming on with the same attitude as the big guys who got a 98. I'm like exaggerating all these things.
Yeah. Now, it sounds like your show, of course, is going to be a little bit of a deconstructing this, where you have the music and now you're creating the story. So it's like almost a complete role reversal.
Well, yeah, but no. As far as the films I'm playing, when I do, I do 2. I used to do a bunch. Now I've gotten all the movie music is in 2 pieces. One's called my Ha Ha medley. That's you don't take much to figure what that's going to be. And guess what? My non Ha Ha medley. Pretty simple to figure out. One's going to be the comedies, and one's going to be Dragonheart and Gettysburg and lots of movies, and so that's how I kind of do that. But they're pretty long. They're a bit much. I'm still not sure if that's the way to do it, because they go on. So what I do now is they go on, but every time I play a piece, and then there's stuff that I love to play, but I don't. I play mostly the things that are everybody goes, they know the movies. I say While You Were Sleeping, they know it's Sandra Bullock. I say, The Mask. I say, okay, I'm going to do the 2 pictures I did with that I thought they were very, very, and it's sad because Ivan Reitman, the great Ivan Reitman, was a brilliant guy who just died, who I did 6, 7 pictures, with the pictures of his that they're really interesting to look at are the 2 that I did with him. I did many with him, but of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now you say that, those are charming, beautiful, wonderful films. Difficult for me because like in Kindergarten Cop is at a drug bust, and you better take that serious. But you better take those kids at the school seriously in a certain way, and you got to take the comedy a certain way. You know, they are hard stories. And Ivan Reitman was a very, very rough guy. He's like a serious guy who made all these comedies, but he was a serious guy, as opposed to other people that I work with, like great English director Alan Parker, who made Mississippi Burning and, you know, all these guys. He was a laugh. You know, he's a North London beer drinking guy. He's another guy who's gone in the last year or two. So it's kind of sad. I consider myself now with, you know, kind of really, really fortunate to have worked with these people that were really fucking great. And as well as people like Ron Howard. And I mean, he's still alive, you know, but Michael Mann and these people, real interesting characters who made these films that I just went in and out of, like, you know, for all, it's just like, so I'm really appreciative of that, you know, at this point.
Yeah, for sure. Now, if we were to kind of roll back the clock a bit here and talk about some of your early pieces, you know, you have a lot of earlier songs that were very based on love. How do you find that things have transitioned to now?
Well, okay. You transition for me, they haven't really. I mean, as far as songwriting, okay, well, I haven't written songs in years now. Did I just write this COVID song? Not you know, coming out the other side about it's a fun thing. And that's really how I met Eileen and got back into all this stuff. And did I just write another thing? Yeah, but that obviously I haven't gotten into, and I will shortly. I've got a bunch of songs, but usually when I was doing those songs years ago, they were always like, I got some kind of publishing deal and I was going to do an album. You know what I mean? There was a concept. Now I'm in an interesting place now where obviously I'm still scoring films and I'm doing this stuff that I've been telling you I've been doing, but it's like, I don't have to I don't feel pressured right now, even though they're saying, come on, you should be now doing this new album of your new songs. I'm not really, that's not where I'm at right now. Whereas before I was always pushing, got to get this group of songs and get the next album out. So to get back to what you asked me, and I don't remember seriously what we talked about exactly last time, but my whole motivation for being a songwriter, because I was a concert pianist and a kind of a conservatory graduate, I never thought at all, I would never wrote songs. I love pop music, but I didn't think I was going to be a songwriter. And when that whole thing happened and the music business changed years ago, and the people selling records and doing the exciting things were people who wrote and recorded and produced their own records. I don't care if it was the Beatles or the Eagles or Elton John. You know, that's suddenly it wasn't a music publisher taking a song to a record producer or a label, taking the song to one of their artists on the label. You know, I mean, it wasn't like that anymore. Different business. And therefore, if you were writing songs when I got out of school or had any intention, guess what? You better do the songs yourself, because that whole business was cut down. Yeah, was there the occasional person who recorded outside material? Of course there was. But for the most part, the excitement and the creativity was coming out of, it doesn't matter if it's James Taylor or Bob Dylan or the Eagles or the Beatles or whatever, you know, let's face it. So therefore, you had to do your own songs. And for me, I'm going to tie in with the love thing is my girlfriend dumped me. And I was walking around the streets of New York, a 20-year-old kid, completely depressed. I didn't know what depression was. I didn't have enough money to go see a shrink, and I wouldn't have known, and I knew nothing about medication. This is what I'm telling you, something that we're laughing about now. I was this guy who lost like 40 pounds, and at the time, I wasn't fat like I am now. I couldn't afford to lose 40 pounds. Maybe being drafted there's a very end of the Vietnam things where you threw your name into a hat and
Yep.
you could be drafted, even though it was the end. And my father thought I was nuts. Okay, so the point about this is this thing happened to me, and that thing was the impetus to start writing these sad songs. You know what I mean? That was it. So at the beginning, that was my big thing, about love and heartbreak and blah blah blah, and it was true.
Yep.
I wasn't making the stuff up. It was true. So I'd say the bulk of the stuff I was doing on my first two albums, which you asked about, were about love. And then, of course, I wrote naturally melodic stuff because that's what my background was. And that's what turned me on with songs. I always loved listening to musicals and songs on the radio, even though I was like a serious classical musician. And so that whole idea of my second album, The Laughter and Tears, and my album If Love Is Real, and my whole first album, or the two albums, 80% of those songs are about getting dumped by this girl, even though I didn't say that.
Yeah.
And it was all about revenge. No.
Thanks a lot, you jerk.
Well, somebody got the last laugh, and you
That's
told
right.
now, but we won't get into it. But the revenge was, and as I got into it, and I was playing on Broadway in a pit of a I was doing some very cool things, and stuff started happening. So I was kind of feeling a little stronger. But the thing was always about her hearing this album and these songs and feeling bad. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah, just rub it in all the world.
No. This is, and it sounds funny now, and these are the kinds of things that kind of, even though it sounds terrible, it kind of turns you on. When you're writing a song, you're serious about writing a song. You're writing about heartbreak, and you're serious about it. And there's an initial idea that's based on that particular situation. But then you talk about Weekend in New England. That's what it's,
Yep.
You take it to another. It's sort of about the lie again. I'm taking something. It's real. I have it. Yeah. Did I go up to Martha's Vineyard that weekend with her and blah, 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 and suddenly that becomes Weekend New England, and years later you have a #1 record, and it's like, where is she?
That's right.
Ha again. Anyway, no, but it's sort of, I'm just telling you where that love thing now. It seemed to play into my if I had strengths as a songwriter in terms of melodic stuff and big melody and choruses, it played. I easily got into that, and then I had to kind of concentrate on not suddenly, but eventually getting away from that and writing about other subjects, which I did, and musically doing some things which had to be interesting, yet I wasn't doing it to be interesting. I was trying to make pop records. I wasn't just trying to be some, I was still, but maybe. So that's kind of what happened with that. But that's where the love thing came. I mean, it came directly from there.
Yep.
Maybe had that not happened, I would have still started writing songs and had that. But that was real. I mean, you listen to that first album of mine, and I can take every song and tell you this is what it was about, and you'd say, "Oh yeah," even though they sounded a little different, they were very sad, and they were all, based on that thing.
That one person, yeah. Now we've got life's influence on you, but who were your musical influences? Like, who were the people that really were a big bang in your life?
Well, okay. First of all, like I said, I was a classical musician, and so those people, there's too many to name. I mean, because I was a serious concert pianist, and of course, all Beethoven and Brahms and Liszt and all those people. But I also loved Rachmaninoff, and I also then, after I was at school, got really turned on by the quote 21st century composers and people like Stravinsky, and who were so interesting, and they moved, they moved the whole harmonic structure a certain way. But I'm sure I understand that's not really what you're asking me about. So I had that, and a great love of that, and a great love also of musicals. There's something I do, especially when I'm in New York, and then I'm going to do Saturday night. I've pushed that a little. That I actually do a couple of songs. I never do anything I didn't write, but I do. I do it for a certain reason,
Okay.
and that obviously, once I do that, it kind of certain people who are pretty knowledgeable have picked up that was an influence on some of the stuff I do, especially some of the film stuff that I've done. But as far as pop, the people on the radio, I mean, I was influenced by, Chuck Berry, and I mean, way back then when I was a kid hearing those songs, and Lieber and Stoller, all of the "Don't Be Cruel," and I mean, all that stuff. And then, of course, hearing those unbelievable melodies that suddenly I couldn't go to the piano and pick them out because there was something different. And who was that? That was someone by the name of Burt Bacharach. And every song that I seemed to like had this name on it. So before he was a name, I saw these names on the records and was like, whoa, there's something, all the changes, the chord changes, really kind of interesting stuff. And yet there were 3.5 minute commercial tunes sung originally by Dion, who I was with last night at Clive Davis's 90th Big Bash here in New York, which is one of the reasons I'm here. And who I eventually went in and produced and did some stuff when I was very young and kind of freaked out about that. But and then so that influence. I mean, I try to think of other people that influenced me, and then obviously the people who made, when I was a kid, music hip. When I was a kid growing up, right, I'm looking out the window. Unbelievable in New York. You can't see 2 feet in front of you. And I'm like in the 50th floor. I can look across the Hudson River and see where I'm from, but you can't see anything now. But I always see where I'm from when I come here, and I start laughing and say, oh, thank God I got out of there. Because even though it's called the Garden State, where I'm from is not the Garden State. It's like the concrete jungle. But anyway, I digress. Anyway, then the people who made it were the Beatles. Suddenly, like, music was cool.
Yep.
You could get girls. You could blah, blah, blah. You could have a band. Plus, obviously, their music wasn't the same chord structure. They were writing some interesting stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
You hear, close your eyes and I'll miss you tomorrow. That's different. Or yesterday. Interesting stuff for a kid who's interested in music and listening to, blah, blah, blah. So, and then after I got out of school and, after I got out of the street with the depression, and I didn't get drafted in the Army, and I started going into this stuff, there were these things that I heard, these people making these albums. And these albums, it was like James Taylor's first album, not the one with, Fire and Rain, the one before that he did for Paul McCartney for Apple in England. And there were these interesting sort of like, not the songs, just links, orchestrations. And then there was this guy that I heard called Elton John. And there were these beautiful string arrangements by a guy who subsequently I met named Paul Buckmaster was his name. I don't think he's around either, but it's kind of sad. We're recalling his history. But that really, it was like, wow, this is cool. And you know what it was? I can do this. I can take these sad songs, and I can make an album. And that's what you had to do. And that's how that, whole thing started. But I was turned on by all those people who,
So quite a big variety of
absolutely right.
Yeah.
But I was obviously a very, very, very supremely accomplished musician by the time I was 18 or 19 years old. So what I had that some of these people didn't, it didn't mean that I was any better songwriter or record producer. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. but nobody had that background. And it really didn't become apparent or mean anything particularly till years later when I really was in a crunch with film scoring and had to conduct my own scores. And there were things that I did, but I was influenced by all those people and getting turned on to what was going on and realizing that there was enough that I could do it. And what happened is I could. That didn't mean that it was successful. That means that I could go in and convince someone to give me the, $3, because you need to add that at the time. We didn't have the technology of doing an album in our bedroom then, and doing an album and blah, blah, blah. And that's what happened. But I was influenced by all those earlier people in music, but also these very poppy artists, but who were doing something that obviously I zeroed into like in 1 second.
Yeah.
And in the film scoring thing, even though I wasn't consciously thinking of scoring film, I had been aware at the beginning by everybody from Bernard Herrmann and all those Hitchcock scores to people like brilliant melodists like Henry Mancini, who are just, holy shit, you hear that stuff. And so I was influenced by across the board with the stuff that I sit here now and ended up doing. I was influenced by a lot of people, just as much by certain people as other ones, as pop people, as Stravinsky and Rachmaninoff and Mahler, because they all had influences on me. And hopefully I've brought that into whatever the hell it is that I was fortunate enough to be given an opportunity to do. And in what I've always found out when people ask me, I always say, it's especially if you're a musician, practice, be prepared. And because you never can tell where you're going to get an opportunity. And it may not connect with what you think you'd like to aspire to do, but you better do a great job, because that person who directed that video or a commercial or a little documentary may turn out to be someone gifted. Perfect example, Tim Burton and Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a guy, a talented guy, Danny Elfman, in his little group, Boingo, Boingo, whatever it is, and a guy who's obviously a brilliant young animator at Disney who made a little short, gets an opportunity to make a picture, and who does he call to do it? This kid, Boingo, Boingo, that he was a fan of. He never had, and he does Pee-wee's Adventure, and right away you heard that, and you knew that this person, Danny, I don't care what he read or what.
That's right.
And then you have these two people, and they created blah blah blah. That's magic. That's the best. There are a few other examples,
right?
But that's Steven Spielberg and John Williams are different examples. But it's a different kind of thing. But what I'm saying is, you never can tell what is going to happen, so you got to take advantage of it. 9 times out of 10, yes, you're probably never going to see this person again. And whatever it is you turned out to be doing, which is the law of averages in this quote show business, it ain't going to happen. It's never the dream when I write at 3 a.m. and I hear the cue and I go, oh my God, I can see myself stepping up to the Oscar. Thank you very much. But that's just not the way it really works.
That's right. Yeah.
But so you get your opportunities and you take advantage of them and 100%. Use hopefully your talent.
That's right. That's right. Now you said something actually that I did want to ask you about. Now, because of the time period that your music has spanned, how do you feel about today's recording equipment versus what you had to deal with originally?
Well, okay. Well, today's, whatever you want to call it, the computer has completely changed the way you score films. Years ago, a guy stood there with a thing called, sprockets, and there was a thing that went by, streamers, and you had to conduct freeform to a thing that you could have timed with a thing called a click book, which is a nightmare. I'm happy I learned how to do it. Now, they don't even exist. You can't even find one.
Yeah.
Now you just lock to the picture and you keep playing it over and over. And that's why people say, how is someone who may not have a musical background, who can't read, write a complex 12-minute cue, catching everything? Well, they take it 10 seconds at a time.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I often look back at the when you look at Queen writing the score for Flash Gordon, and they're literally sitting in front of a screen watching the movie while constantly playing.
Well, that's a different. Yeah, that's I mean,
and I look at something like that, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't know how anybody did that. You know?
Well, what's going on now is you see a lot of people from groups, and with the technology, and then of course it doesn't matter. Originally, you could say, well, someone like that was doing it, but it's going to sound like their sound. But it's not like that anymore, because what happens is someone transcribes it on paper, and then it's transcribed for the London Symphony. And there's no Queen on it, and there's no radio. You know, it sounds differently. And if the guy has the capacity in his mind to conceive of what it is, it's a whole different thing now. I'm not putting it down. I'm trying to put down at all of somebody who doesn't have. But the technology has made it possible. You're scoring a film. You got your thing in front of you. And I lock to it, and I change it, and I do listen back, play on samplers my parts, which obviously are so sophisticated now, you can't even tell if it's real or not. Now, there's nothing like a real orchestra, especially if you have a big ensemble piece. But, I mean, people come to my house, and if you don't like it in my house, you're not going to like it at Abbey Road. It's the same. That's right. It's just, the emotion of it, the sound of it is going to be the same. So it's changed everything, but it still hasn't changed the emotional response that a composer has to add. It doesn't matter who it is or what they know. If they're good at that their craft, they can add that. They just go about it in a different way.
Yeah. It's and there's always that big learning curve as well, right? I mean, as you go along, but it makes things easier and sometimes maybe a little bit more difficult.
It's more difficult, mainly for composers now, because when the directors come by, they're spoiled. It used to be, you say, how the hell did all those great scores? How were they all written when there were no? What did they have? A moviola and a piano. Until you got in front of that orchestra when you really scored the film. So how did they do it? How did they make decisions? I don't know. That's the way they did.
They just did, yeah.
And they had a lot more faith in whoever was hired as a composer, because they couldn't hear it really till the end.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they could hear a theme, but there was not like a demo done or a mock-up, because it couldn't do it. You know,
a lot of trial and error, and
But listen, you hear all those old movies, and you listen to it, and the music never stops. It's
true.
Playing things. It's playing anything you hear it going, and it's going with the dialogue. Listen to all the old George Cukor film. You know, the music is playing like, what's the music playing? It's sort of playing the dialogue.
Yeah,
it's like up, down, you know. But it's what it is, you know.
For sure.
Different style, you know.
Yeah. I do have two more questions for you. One, of course, is still a little bit of continuous on this new technology. How are you feeling about things like Spotify and a lot of the streaming services?
I don't. You know what? It's okay. I don't have any big. You know, there's drawbacks to everything that's happened as far as composers and kids getting used to. You know, they don't know about going out and buying any music, or they hear it in 1 second.
Yeah.
They like something, they put it on the thing. They're not listening to albums. They're going back to the old singles. They just listen to things they like. But it's, you know, as far as if it's good or bad, or we're getting composers getting screwed, or you know, I mean, I'm in a little different situation, because film scoring is a very interesting area. People don't sometimes. I don't try to explain it because I don't want to talk about it. But what happened is years ago, where could you hear a film score? In a movie, or maybe on a late night television. If you did a really big picture, like what's the one about? I don't know why I'm thinking this now. Where what's his name gets dressed up as a woman.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Not Mrs. Doubtfire. The other one, the first one. Dustin Hoffman. Come on. I don't know why I'm thinking that film. Okay.
I know which one you're talking about.
No.
Yep.
Okay, it doesn't matter if it's Breakfast at Tiffany's or the point is, so film composers, that's where you heard stuff. Then something happened, which is the biggest thing for film composers. Took a little while though. It's called cable television. Why? Cable television needed content. What everybody wanted. Films. What kind of films? Hollywood films with stars in them. Okay, now. At the beginning, when cable television started, and I went to California, and I paid a guy $50 to run up the telephone pole because I didn't want to pay for the Z channel service or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
You see, it took years and years and years until HBO became HBO. I worked with HBO years before. It was nothing. Then they started with original content, The Sopranos, and then other things happened. And they got money. And what did they do with their money? They bought content. They bought films. Suddenly now, people very quietly who are writing scores for films has a whole new area where they're showing movies. Didn't matter if it was HBO or Disney or AMC or Stars or Showtime. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Now you wrote a score, especially if you did a certain kind of film, and it's all over the world. Okay.
Yeah.
You're getting performances. Now that's good. Now, if you did a big hit, that was great. What I'm saying is that's the start of what I'm saying. Suddenly, your music was not only exposed, but you were getting paid.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much it is. It was still, you were a film composer, had new exposure. And that has grown tenfold with this streaming. And even though, you may be getting screwed that someone doesn't report something here, the fact is, film scores, I'm talking about the scores. I'm not talking about songs that are extraneous in films at the end of the film or the beginning. I'm talking about people who are scores. So suddenly, the area became much different, much more lucrative, and people started focusing so that people know film composers now. It's sort of a hip thing, much more than it used to be. It used to be like, oh yeah, you knew a couple of people who did, Maurice Jarre, who did, Dr. Zhivago and Lawrence Arabia and all those David Lean films.
Yep.
And, but now, so suddenly, not now, like 30 years ago, whatever it was, when I started doing this big time, after years of doing other stuff, you got exposure. I forget, what was your question? I know it must have.
Just in regards to what your thought on the streaming platform.
Oh, God. Oh, sorry. I went off. So I look at it all as, it's all good if your music is being exposed, whether something political gets like the whole thing with Spotify and I don't know. I don't really have, it's not that I don't have opinions on these things. I do. But it ties into the exposure of music.
Yeah.
And all these things expose music. And do I like that on Spotify? If you do it, you go to my stuff and you hear 30 bad cuts. Nah, I would rather but okay, you heard 30 cuts. Yeah. Some are good songs, some are bad, some are good cues, some are not, but it's there.
That's right. But so, you could still bring up all the albums. Like, I mean, it's still nice if you want to bring up Lasso of Mohicans and listen to that soundtrack, right?
Yeah.
So,
what's great, and what's great now, even though I didn't realize it until when I say recently, what's great is like for me or anybody else, you see a score, you punch up my name, the name of that movie, and you're going to get on YouTube, you're going to hear, even if you don't know where the soundtrack is, you can, and it all, by the way, right on your phone, sounds like $1 million. I mean,
right.
it's incredible.
I
It's hard to fathom all this stuff, and it sounds great. And you could hear, you may not hear exactly the piece of music that you heard in passing wherever you may have seen the film, but you're going to get the whole thing. You're going to have 25 cuts just by punching that film and my name, let alone the soundtracks that I always do. So it's just, to me, you write music, and whether it's a TV theme or a film score or a song on an album, and once you do it and record it the way you want, and it exists on your initial recording, then it goes out to the world, and that's a kind of a cool thing these days.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The last question I have for you, actually, and this is out of almost personal curiosity, you'd mentioned earlier in the interview about listening to modern music and a lot of pop and stuff like that. Who's your favorite pop artist right now?
My favorite pop, I like, I'll tell you, I really like the songs of Olivia Rivera. You know,
it was so
no,
funny.
I mean, you said pop. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, I like her. I mean, I could name groups and stuff, but you asked me that, so I said, you know what? Here's someone that I think really has talent and made a couple of original, because you said pop.
That's right.
I'm zeroing in. I'm not saying the most interesting, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's over right now. I wasn't aware of her. Yes, I heard the driver's license thing or something. I heard a couple other things, and I think, okay, there's someone that, and she's not out there, but original, unique, and it's like, and I thought it was interesting. Whereas other artists that have come around, whether it's Billie Eilish or that's okay. But you just asked me, so that's one person. Now I'll get off the phone with you, and there's 30 other things I could name.
Pop into your head.
But
But you know what I think is so interesting, that was the one artist that came to your head. Was earlier I was going to say, well, it's very interesting with the comparison of your early music and hers. Both about heartbreak, both about love, and that coming back and revenge. And she has just come out of an interview saying, I'm done with that now. I've mourned the loss of that relationship, and I'm done. And now you're gonna hear different things and different changes. So very, very interesting that was
and then she obviously she with a couple of things that I've heard, she hit me a certain way. That there's other people, but that is something. And I must say, a couple of months ago, whether I'm sure I wasn't that aware. I wasn't aware of her, but and that's interesting that you say that. And so, revenge.
That's right.
Maybe that should be the title of my next album.
There you go. Revenge. It's the ultimate music maker.
Yeah.
Excellent, Randy. Well, I can't appreciate enough, and thank you enough for having you on the show again.
Happy to
and
be
look
here.
at that. We could have you back, and it was a whole new subject of conversation. And
you got it, baby.
You continue to always amaze me, and I really hope your concert goes fantastic on Saturday. And I can't thank you enough.
I'll tell you how the jokes go.
Yeah, 100%. I can't wait to find out.
Thanks, Anthony.
Excellent. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Take care.